we got our first major health client. We create sensors that tell you if your home is making you sick or your family sick.
Kia ora koutou, it's Ryan Tahi, and with me is Hiria Rangi, kai whakahaere of Whare Hauora. And today we're going to have a yarn or a kororo about Whare Hauora. So let's start with the traditional introduction. This is all about meeting the person, not the suit, or in your case the t-shirt, same as my case. And we'll talk about the business in the next question. So if you could share with us a little bit about yourself so everyone gets to meet you.
Kia ora tātou, ko Hiria Rangi ahau, ko Ngāti Porou me ngā tūwhare tō Kiwi. I reside in Porirua, and I have 4 kids and my partner Jamie, and I'm a real nerd and I love tech.
Pretty cool. 4 kids?
Yeah, total.
How old?
I've got twins and they're 21. And
Say what?
Yeah, total. Māori. And I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old.
Oh wow. Awesome.
Yeah, twins put me off.
It's like double the trouble all at once.
Yeah.
And you're a nerd, so
Yeah.
that's going to relate to what we're talking about because it's a pretty cool tech product, which most of you probably already know of, but we'll get into that in a little bit longer. And what was the other thing? So you've got 4 kids, you're a nerd, and the third thing was?
I have a partner,
James.
his name's Jamie.
James, yes.
Yeah. He's in tech as well, and I live in Porirua, which is where I also did secondary school, and my grandparents grew up, raised us there, I should say.
Yeah. Now on to our next question. What impact are you making? And this is the new way of asking, how's work going?
Yeah, right?
So tell us about it. And for those of you that don't know, those of you that do know, this is an update because we've seen Hiria speak at CIO Summit and also at TEDx. So this is a little bit of an update of where we are at.
Yeah, and the update at the moment is that we got our first major health client, a health organisation by the name of Tūranga Health, based in Gisborne. And so we will be doing a pilot with them for 50 kits or 50 homes, and we'll be supporting them to help families better prioritise and better enable their respiratory illness program as well as their insulation installation program.
That's amazing. From my perspective, that's exactly what I saw needed to happen, or what I wanted to happen from a personal point of view. So aside from being friends and hearing about this and just believing in it completely from as soon as I understood it, the other side of it is I grew up in the first 4 years of my life, I was in and out of hospital and on different machinery, and they couldn't diagnose whether it was asthma or bronchitis. I had more antibiotics than a bull can produce, and I had more inhalers than you could throw at a bale of hay. So it never worked and no one could understand it. But from having heard Hiria speak before, the temperature of our house in Dunedin that had no insulation would have been under 16 degrees, and it definitely was damp because we had the mould growing in the corner. Like, I love that reference when you spoke one time, you said you all know where the mould grows in the corner of the closet during winter. Yep, we had that. So I'm sort of guessing that I was a victim of the damp and the mould, the exact scenario that you're talking about. So therefore all the money was spent on me, nebulizers, time in hospital, mum and dad running back and forth, all of that wasted time could have been more productive. This is going to shine a light on it, and it's going to be preventative rather than rehabilitative. Yeah,
and it's also the long-term effects on children as well, because it hinders growth, it hinders lung development. The sooner that you can identify that your house is making you sick and make changes to it, the better off your entire family will be for the long run. And yeah, mostly it's children and elderly that are hit by it.
Yeah. So I sort of look at this, and New Zealand culture is, she'll be right, we'll just make do, we'll muddle through, we'll get another heater. So what a lot of people do is get the cheap gas heaters, and gas heaters have been found to be a cause of asthma from the way that the moisture is created. So we're making the situation worse, whereas if we use the data, and I think if we actually go right back to it, it's changing the building code, so houses have to be built to be warmer. I think 18 to 21,
Yeah.
What should it be?
Well, for adults it's 18 degrees, and for children and elderly it's 21 degrees during winter, and the humidity should only be below 60%. So anything above that is considered damp, and that's the point at which mould grows. So below 16 degrees temperature and above 60% humidity is the environmental definition of the creation of mould. So.
And you'll all know all the people that use dehumidifiers. We use one in Auckland, and I'll put the dehumidifier on, and what was a cold room suddenly becomes a warm room, and it's no heater. It's just removing the dampness. So I can actually felt the effect.
For Tūranga Health, we just got word that they've received funding for the pilot, and so we've got our initial meetings starting this week. To figure out planning so that we can go into, we're going into manufacturing in the next couple of weeks, so that we can have the kits in New Zealand by about January, and then they go into security testing.
Absolutely.
And then from there we can go to installation. So those are the hurdles we've got to get over first. Yeah.
And how many units are in the pilot, or how many houses is in the pilot?
50. So for an initial pilot, that's quite large, and so we'll be spending a lot of time up there for training, planning, supporting, because what we need to do as whare hauora is that we broker the relationship so that the whānau has all control over their data because it is theirs, but we ensure that the health organisation has enough in order to be able to define whether or not the respiratory illness program or the insulation has made a difference. So it's that balance.
Cool.
It's an issue at the moment, right? Because we have to do requirements gathering and actually sit with the whānau to see what they're willing to give, and to sit with the health organisation to talk about what they really need. And so the definition for us is that the whānau will know everything. So that means that every measurement we take, which is every 10 minutes, and that's temperature and humidity, and we'll come up with reporting for them because they have detailed data about exactly what's happening. And so for the health organisation, that means that we aggregate up. So instead of getting 10-minute reads, they might get a daily read. So I like a read that's the average of what happens overnight during sleep, because we think that that's the primary time where illness or sickness occurs, because you don't know that it's cold, you continue to sleep. And then we'll do a comparison between all the nights and then all the days, and then aggregate up from that, so we can give highs and lows without giving absolutely detailed data, right? Enough so that our medical professionals can do a good job.
And I love the fact that it's in control of the people who have the devices in their homes. That makes me keen to do it myself. Like, I'll wake up in the cold in the middle of the night, jaw will be clenched because I've been cold and shivering. So that's when I go, oh yeah, we've got to put another blanket on, we've got to put the heater on, etc. So I can imagine that across New Zealand, because one of the other mind-blowing facts that you said and that I saw at the CIO Summit was that it's not just, say, low socioeconomic housing, it's even the, let's say, the well-to-do housing because of the building code.
Yeah, it's across the board.
Yeah, so it's everybody in New Zealand is susceptible to this problem.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's a health problem affecting everyone.
Yeah, and all we want to do is, because a really good, thorough study was made by Brands, I think, and it determined that 2/3 of New Zealand housing was too cold and too damp. But all we want to do is to ensure that we know what's happening in everyone's home, and ensure that we know how it is affecting the family or the occupant's health. And that's all, so that they can make decisions based on that and make clear, informed decisions.